Live now look there over a nighttime Orlando, Florida. Well, that's where our next story takes us because leprosy cases there in Central Florida are surging. And right there, it seems to be a hot spot, specifically Brevard County with 20 cases reported. Let's talk about this right now. We're going to be joined by Fox 35 Orlando reporter Deborah Choe. She spoke with a dermatologist about these specific cases. She joins me now. Deborah, good to see you. I think when Americans, or at least viewers, hear the term leprosy, they pause because they don't think that's been around since, what, biblical times. What more did this dermatologist tell you?
Yeah, that's exactly my first question to him, actually, Andrew, was this is kind of freaky to think about. You don't think about headlines when you, health headlines. When you see leprosy, you're like, wait a second, I'm going to stop in my tracks. But what he told me was that it's nothing to freak out about. He says that there is a lot more treatment than there was, perhaps back in the biblical times. But some of the things that he did say was that he's not sure exactly how it's spreading and why Brevard County specifically is a hot spot.
Leprosy is a disease you don't often think about, but for Floridians, it's something to be aware of. The CDC publishing a new report showing a rise in cases of leprosy, especially in Brevard County.
There's really no good reason why it loves Melbourne and Brevard County that I can think of. In fact, we don't even really know how leprosy is spread from one person to another.
Central Florida accounted for 81% of cases reported in the state. In 2020, Brevard County had 20 cases, compared to other counties with leprosy, which had just one. The big question on people's minds, how do you get it? For some people, they have no idea. But in most cases, it's from long-time exposure to leprosy or by making contact with an armadillo.
The one thing that's important to note for our viewers is it's not like shaking somebody's hand is going to give you leprosy. That's not how it works.
Dr. Matthew Knight says oftentimes the disease is a smoldering process. It doesn't just appear in your body overnight. And if you do get it, it's treatable.
It doesn't, kill you quickly. It's not like something you catch and you get sick right away. It's a smoldering disease, and now we're on the lookout for it even more than we normally were.
And another interesting fact that I found, Andrew, when I was talking to Dr. Knight was that he said most of us actually have natural immunity to leprosy. It really all depends on how your immune system responds to it if you do come into contact with it. And if you do catch it, it just depends on how your immune system responds. So different symptoms, different signs will be for different people. So, even though we're hearing these, terms of leprosy and we're freaking out, it sounds like, we shouldn't be in the panic mode quite yet. Just something to be aware of course, if you are out and about, or if you get to rash, maybe go to the dermatologist a little quicker than you normally would.
Okay,
back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, Deborah, just about that, the symptoms. Is it just this rash that first forms? That's how you kind of somewhat know before you get to a doctor that this could be the start of leprosy? What more do we know, though, about those symptoms, if any?
Yeah, every case is different is really what he told me. Some people, they'll start to get a little bit of a rash, maybe see some white bumps, he says, and they'll usually just overlook it and be like, oh, it's just a rash, no big deal. But for some people, they started to maybe not feel like feelings in their legs, and they go to the doctor and they're like, I don't understand what's going on. They keep going to different doctors. Eventually they end up at a dermatologist, and that's when the dermatologist goes, oh no, wait, this is probably a classic case of leprosy. Okay. And they'll immediately get them to an infectious disease doctor, and then that doctor will give them antibiotics, and they're usually treated, pretty quickly. And also it depends on how fast your immune system responds. It could be anywhere from a year or even a couple years until you're officially considered a cure from leprosy.
I think the word endemic is so crucial in this story because it is just right now centered on Central Florida. From what we have been reading or reporting, it has not spread to, I believe, other states where it could potentially, become some type of epidemic here. But they still, some of the experts you spoke with, they don't know why Central Florida. That's the really puzzling question about all this. How did it start in Central Florida?
Yeah, and I was like, do we have more armadillos than, other parts of the country? Is it our heat? Like, what is it? And they said it's still too soon to know. But they also noted to me that, Florida, for whatever reason, is a hot spot right now. And they also mentioned Hawaii. And I said, well, wait a minute, the weather, does that, maybe have something to do? And they said it's not exactly clear right now. So don't know why Florida happens to be a hot spot, but here we go. It is.
All right, Fox 35 Orlando's Deborah Choe there in the LiveNOW newsroom in Orlando. Deborah, thanks so much. Talk again.
Thanks, Andrew.